Holy crap. And now, I love these little graphs and things here. So now the valerian chart and majorly affecting GABA A receptors here. Alkaloids, terpenoids, organic acids, their derivatives, so all the constituents in there, and what they do, reducing sleep latency, improving subjective measures through the GABA A receptor. So, holy crap. And now, um, similar but different, kava. And this being one of my favorite stress herbs, just for my own personal use, I freaking love kava because you can dump out a lot of those catecholamines. So kava or kava, and it's cavapriones, decreases sleep latency, but no effect on REM sleep. I will say though, be a little cautious with the kava because if you do a little bit in excess, it's going to be way harder to fall asleep. So it becomes more of a stimulant due to the positive dopamine loops that you get from it when you're taking these things. So just be aware of that. And then for our next guy here, which you may not think of as a calming herb here, but wormwood. This is by far the most bitter herb that we have, but it does have effects on the GABA receptors, specifically the GABA type A receptor. So there is something to it there with having, I'm never going to have somebody do wormwood to help them sleep. There's just no chance in hell because if you take wormwood before bed, you're just going to be up all night with that horrible taste in your mouth. So definitely not worth it. But okay, there's much less evidence of herbal medicines interacting with the GABA B or the GABA C receptors, except for Passiflora incarnata, passion flower. So it has been shown to inhibit the binding of lignans to both GABA A and GABA B receptors in a concentration dependent manner, suggesting that it contains antagonists of both receptor subtypes. Notably, passion flower extracts contain high amounts of GABA, so they actually have GABA in there, as well as affecting the receptors too. Therefore, has a potential to exert its hypnotic activity through all three types of GABA receptors. Holy crap. Oh, bring us back here. Isn't that crazy? Passion flower, a dominant herb. It's just in some use cases, like for people that have, PCOS and things, you don't want to be doing things that could potentially affect aromatase negatively there for that patient scenario. So you do have to be cautious with that. I would never have any woman with PCOS using this on a daily basis for sleep. There are some use cases where it makes total sense to be doing there, like people with some COMT gene SNPs, which we did talk about in the sleep part 1. But yeah, you don't for people with PCOS, do not be doing passion flower like this because not on a regular basis. But there's a ton, especially for the guys, and a lot of the guys that are doing too much sugar. Oh my goodness, passion flower is like probably the number one thing that you could be doing there. So, but hey, the constituents in here reducing that sleep latency, increasing sleep duration, and then we have the GABA A, GABA C, GABA B receptors all being affected there. So I think that is pretty cool. That is the only herb that's been found so far to affect all three of those receptors. So I almost went 30 minutes without taking a single drink of water. But yeah, one of my favorites, especially for not only the sleep purpose, but also to just kind of calm down a little bit, because it works extremely quick when these things are in that liquid form. So, and now kind of a crazy patient case here. This was somebody, and I'll pull up her Dutch test here. So for this person, this is a story about a patient that had horrible sleep issues, and she's had them for the longest time. We started to look at some of the Dutch testing here, which is pretty interesting because overall her cortisol is pretty low when you look at the metabolized cortisol. But despite that, when you look at the daily free cortisol pattern on the bottom right, if we look at that, the last dot on the right starts to pick up at the end when it's time for bed. So she's tossing and turning every night, trying to fall asleep. So we started supporting her adrenals with what her testing is showing her, and we got some help, but she just still for months and months on end, no matter what we did and how hard, how heavy, her sleep did not budge. Still tossing and turning. No improvements. Very little here and there, and improvements in anxiety overall throughout the day and stuff like that. But at this point, both her and myself are frustrated here, saying like, "What the hell's going on?" But then she let me know that in the past she had, or not in the past, for a long time, and up until this time, she would have chronic sinus issues all the time. So she's had them for so long that it didn't really joggle her mind to think that that can be connected to this whole sleep scenario. But why I mentioned that is because when you're having just a weird scenario and nothing's really adding up or making sense, and you're doing all the right things and still reaching, roadblocks here for a lot of these people, um, especially for a case like this where I am giving her everything that should work. But with the chronic sinus issue, kind of made me think, and then we started asking about um, water damage in the home and possible, mold and things like that. Which she was like, okay, yeah, they moved around a couple times, but in the previous place that they lived when all of this started, she started to get horrible sleep patterns. So that's when we ran this sucker. And at this point, when you think you got all these details right, we want to check out a deeper layer, especially when things are still not coming together. But this is why it's so important to get the body tested, looking for inflammatory stressors, because there's two different forms of mold here, and especially the mycophenolic acid still shows that there's an active infection of mold that was hidden in the place that she lived. So we started supporting these factors. And again, not everybody's the same, but when you dig a little bit deeper and figure out, okay, here's actually what's causing your problems. Because now we started to correct this mold, and voila, falling asleep like a baby. So cool stuff, hey? Not all of you are the same. So you can't just go out there and buy everything that I talked about and expect it all to be normal. Will you see improvement? Probably, just like that lady did there, but not completely sometimes. And there's more to the story for a lot of people. And the people that I'm seeing are not people that like have one or two problems. This is people that, out of desperation, that have been to 12 different specialists, and now they're saying, "Hey, I have nowhere else to go or try anything. Please help." And that's typically when I see, although I would like it to be the other way around where they kind of come to us first and we work all the issues through, but certainly mold can be a problem for a lot of people, especially with chronic immune suppression going on, chronic sinus issues, looking into the GI as well, which is definitely something that we're going to do with her in a couple months here. But pretty cool, hey? So we ran through all the cool research on sleep and things for you guys here tonight. But thanks for hanging out. If you're watching the replay, what's up there? And good stuff. And I'll be probably doing another one of these tomorrow. We may do a sleep part 3, but who knows? Send me messages and emails, and check out what's in the description there below so that you can get my personal email and just reach out for anything that you're going through. And if you have labs or want to send me your story and get a different opinion on things, because when you go to a doctor, you get an opinion. That's really all that you're getting. It's not written in stone somewhere to give you this magic protocol or a magic cure that's going to solve all the problems. It's way more complex than that. So, but good stuff, guys. Thanks for hanging out. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me watching. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys. And we'll talk again tomorrow.